Good morning. Happy Sunday. I hope you are having a great weekend. It is a balmy 42 here in Ohio, and the birds are singing, so I'm pretending it's spring, and I'm going to attempt to do our morning pep talk outside. Now, this could be the greatest thing that I ever decided to do, or the dumbest thing I ever decided to do. Got 2 dogs on my lap, one over there ready to chase squirrels at any moment. But we'll see how it goes. I figured it's spring. We've been waiting long enough for it, so what the heck. Good morning. I am Jenny Hensley, co-owner and effectiveness coach with Dynamics. Our goal is to help you reclaim your time so you could reclaim your life and love your work again. Knew it. See? You can see Squirrel Watch in the background. I have absolutely no control. So anyway, I want to start out by giving some shout outs, and I'm going to start doing this because I'm getting more feedback from you as we continue with the pep talks every week. First of all, shout out to Aaron, who helped me get the yard ready yesterday. Also, Sean, Chris, and Sally, who also helped me get the yard ready yesterday. Also wanted to thank my social media guru, David Stevens, who is always on me to make sure that I have a topic, and helped me come up with this topic today, which is so timely. We're going to be talking about how to say no, or why you should say no, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious. It is so important. It's one of the most important things that you can do to help yourself. And if you practice it enough, it's one of the easiest things that you can do. Also wanted to follow up on the questions from not the last one, but a lot of you are doing interviews, and we've done a couple about what to do if you're in a job that you don't want to be in, and also some interview tips. So send your questions, because I have been following up with those of you who had questions. One of the ones, though, that was reoccurring was if you haven't heard back at a certain amount of time. We talked about the last question that you should ask is, what's your timetable? And if they said 2 weeks and it's been 4 weeks, can you follow up? And the answer is yes. I would send an email or just do a quick call. Just be very gracious and say, hey, I interviewed for this position. I'm just wondering if a decision has been made. It's fair. Nobody's going to think any less of you if you want to know where they are in the process. So I just wanted to go ahead and answer that question because I've heard it more than once. Hold on, I'm going to get hairy. I'm not going to get hairy. So what I want to talk about today is how important it is to learn to say no. We talk about all the time. Several of these live streams have been about focus, and people talk about focus all the time, but doing it is really, really hard. I am going to absolutely overwhelm you with resources in the notes for this live stream and when I download it, because there are just so many things out there about how important focus is. So Auntie Adrienne and I did a mini book report on essentialism, which is where I would start if you're working on focus. It's just a great read, and it has really, really good suggestions and actual things that you can do. And as always, I think I'm going to put the link for our mini book report, and you can also just Google essentialism if you don't have time or want to read, or you want to hear more about the book. Go ahead and Google it. But today we're going to be talking about saying no. So I thought this quote was perfect. Success is about doing the right thing, not about doing everything right. You have to discern where you are going to put your attention, because you cannot do multiple things at once. Even though we think we can, your brain can only actually focus on one thing at a time. So saying no is essential so that you can focus on the things that are going to make the difference and that make the most difference for you. So let's talk specifically about how to say no. You should learn to say no to things that don't align with your focus. Wow, especially in education, we are so often bad about focusing on something for a short period of time and then leaving it and going and doing something else that seems like it's new, it's more exciting. But my mentor, Bill, always used to tell us that real leadership is saying no to some really good ideas, because now is just not the right time and it doesn't fit our focus. So you have to be crystal clear, obviously, first about what is your focus. I've also talked, and Angie and I talked about it, and so did Keith Pomeroy and I, when we did our book report, and we did our video about the one thing. Also, Dwight Carter mentions it in his Be Great trainings. That's another one that I'm going to share with you. Know what your one thing is. Know what your number one goal is, because that helps you prioritize and say no to the things that don't fit. Say no to things that someone else can do. So we also, especially many of us, are perfectionists, and we are very passionate about our work, and we think that oftentimes we have to do everything. When I moved from being curriculum director to being assistant superintendent, and we hired a new curriculum director, fantastic curriculum director, I had a lot of trouble shifting into my new role. Because I couldn't let go of the things that I had done in the past. And at one point, Bill called me in and asked me if I wanted to be the curriculum director, since I was still acting as the curriculum director. And obviously, I wanted to have my new role as assistant superintendent. So for me, I had to really accept the fact, and he also said this, so I hope he doesn't see this video because he's going to kill me that I'm talking about him so much. But you have to accept the fact that the people that work with you and your team may not do things the way you would do them, exactly the way you would do them, but they'll do a good job. And if they don't do a good job, then you have to deal with it. But you hire the people on your team for a reason, and it really undermines their confidence and their trust if you're constantly micromanaging and constantly going in and trying to do the work yourself when it's really not part of your job. Also, I think say no to things that you can outsource. Are there things that you can have an outside organization do for you? We facilitate meetings. A lot of times we do the planning. We try to, with our support contracts, we try to act as adjunct administrators so that we can be there to solve and fill any problems that come up. But there are all kinds of resources out there, and it doesn't have to be a person or a company. It could be an online service that, maybe you're a small organization and you don't have tons of resources. You could get somebody an online service and just pay by the hour for somebody to help you with PR or editing or generating media. So those are some things that are important, but say no to things that somebody else can do. Also, say no to things you don't want to do. My friend Suzanne and I have been in a deep conversation about this, about the fact that how do you realize all of a sudden that I'm doing these things and I'm choosing to do these things and I hate doing these things. And also somebody else can do it, and the things I hate, somebody else can do it better. So keep in mind, you have to kind of take a reflective look at yourself and think about what do I want to be doing? What am I best at doing? And what am I passionate about doing? So say no to things that somebody else can do or somebody else should do. Now this next one is the hardest one for many, many people. Say no to time wasters. By time wasters, I mean social media and email, texting, anything that takes your time and attention away from what you're doing. You need to stop doing, you need to batch it, and we've talked about that a couple times, where you batch, a certain time, like the first half an hour of the day, I'm going to look at email, half an hour during lunch, I'm going to look at social media, and actually set a timer so that you get those things done during the day. But they can take you in a million directions, and they can take you to the first two things that I talked about. If you get an email that sends you into a tizzy and doesn't align with your focus but seems really important at the time, and maybe it's something somebody else should be doing, and you start digging into what it is, you may be undermining what the other person is doing. So do not get sucked into time wasters. So those are our 3 things that you should say no to, and you need to learn to say no. And I think the thing for me, the most important piece, is you have to ruthlessly guard your time in your calendar. Something has to fit all of the necessary criteria. It has to fit your focus. It has to fit your passion. And in order to make the cut to even be considered to be in your schedule, to take your time and be on your calendar. So you need to ruthlessly guard that. A ton of research out there about how to gracefully say no. Another resource, I told you I was going to give you a ton today. Tim Ferriss, his book Tribe of Mentors, talks about the graceful no, how to gracefully say no. He interviewed many of the top performers in their fields and found that the common thread, one of the common threads, was they say no to 90% of the things that are offered to them. And he shares in his podcast, which I'm going to give you the link to, an actual rejection he got for the book, Tribe of Mentors. Somebody he asked to be in the book and sent this amazing rejection letter, and he reads it. So those are out there. However, if you would like us to do a whole thing on helping you say no, how to say no, just send comments, put it in the comments, send us a message, because I'm happy to do that. But there were just so many resources out there that I thought you might want to take a look at them yourself. So that is how to say no. Now, I'm going to empower you to say no. And our goal is going to be, as always, we are on the weekend. It is Sunday. It is sort of spring. I don't know if 42 counts, and it may rain today, but still, it is still spring. So take time for yourself today. Say no. Act like the crazy dogs in the background running around, so happy to be outside. Take time for yourself, and do not work all day. If you do have to absolutely work, set a timer so that you can, oh my God, set a timer so that you can get your work done, but also spend time with your family and friends and enjoy your life, because that is our goal, to help you reclaim your life. Please, it always helps us if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Instructional Leadership channel, hashtag Reclaim Your Life. And again, like and share, especially share with people who you think need the message, who aren't very good at saying no, and have a fantastic day. See you next Sunday.